Greetings, wealth makers. It's very inspiring to be able to share with you tonight some of Eric Worre's experience and wisdom in this business. Obviously, his main message to us always is to be professional about it. So I think Adam and I were just chatting a little bit and saying, yeah, sometimes it is kind of like a job. Not a job, just over broke, working from 8 to 5 and working 20 hours a week and for 20 years of your life, and or 40 hours a week for 40 years of your life, and then retiring with 40% of your income. So this is different, but it does take some commitment. It does take some energy. It does take doing this professionally. So we've been through making a list of people we'd really like to share this opportunity with. We've been through inviting them to take a look at what we have to offer. We've been through presenting and using the different tools that we have at our disposal to do that. And last week we did a really amazing session on follow-up. Today we're talking about, if you have a new member, how do you get them started? So it's quite a short session. I think it's only about 7 minutes. So if you're both keen, I will click on to chapter 10 and let's do chapter 10 as well. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you.
Chapter 8, skill number 5, helping your prospects become customers or distributors. This skill is a natural byproduct of following up professionally. If you walk through exposure after exposure, our goal of education and understanding will be accomplished. But that doesn't mean the prospect will come out and ask you for an order form or an application. It's your job to get them to a decision. The key to success in this area is a combination of having good posture and asking good questions. Good posture means the way you carry yourself. Your words and actions will help your prospect feel more confident about joining your opportunity, or they'll plant seeds of doubt. In my early years, my posture was terrible. I was trying to get people instead of pursuing the nobler goal of education and understanding. And the prospects could feel my intentions. I was very emotionally attached to the outcome. You could even say I was needy. Every time I got to this part of the process, I really, really wanted it. Again, the prospect could feel my emotional attachment, and that usually scared them away. Through lack of results and without even realizing it, I started to assume people were not going to be interested. And that assumption started to seep into everything, which led to the predictable result of the prospect not joining. Most of the time, I wasn't properly prepared. I didn't have applications, startup materials, or whatever else was necessary. Think about the subconscious impact this had on my prospects. It seemed just about everything I did projected a lack of belief and a lack of professionalism. Instead of asking questions and listening intently to the answers, I just talked and talked and talked. I was more focused on being interesting than being interested. Prospects don't like that. No one does. So again, I followed the pattern of modeling the professionals. I watched what the best closers did and began to copy them. I interviewed the top performers to figure out what they did differently, and slowly I started to see the flaws in my own approach. First, I learned that professionals are emotionally detached from the outcome. In other words, their goal is education and understanding while helping a prospect make a decision that would positively impact their lives. They're the opposite of needy. They aren't trying to get anybody. They are honestly just trying to help. Second, they're very assumptive in their approach. They expect the person to join because their belief that the opportunity would benefit the prospect is so strong. They are rock solid. Many of them are sincerely shocked when a person decides not to get involved. Third, it was interesting to learn they promoted themselves as much as they promoted the product or the opportunity. What I mean by that is they helped the prospect make the decision by saying, "You get me." When they promoted themselves, it isn't like, "I'm going to do everything for you." It was more like, "We have a great product and a great opportunity, but I'm going to take this thing to the top and we can do it together." This gives people great comfort in knowing that they don't have to learn everything on their own. Fourth, they are always prepared. Always. They have everything they need to get a person started right on the spot. And fifth, They ask question after question after question and are great listeners. They act like a consultant helping a person with a problem. The best consultants in the world have to ask a bunch of questions before they can offer a solution. Network marketing professionals use questions as their most powerful tool. As you can imagine, it took me a while to figure all of this out, and that was just half the battle. It's one thing to have the information, and it's another thing to put it into action. I wasn't as talented as the pros, but I could model what they did, so I just started to act like they acted. I acted emotionally detached. I really wasn't at the beginning. I started to act very assumptive that people would join. I really wasn't at the beginning. I started to tell people, and you get me, even though I didn't think that was such a huge benefit at the beginning. I was always prepared. I started to ask lots of questions, focusing more on being interested than interesting. And as time went on, I acted less and less and believed more and more. The same can happen for you. Let's talk about questions. If you were a consultant and your job was to figure out if an opportunity was a good fit for your client, what would you do? You'd ask questions, right? In working to help a prospect make a positive decision about your opportunity, you're going to do the same thing. But instead of asking, what did you think, which leads nowhere, learn to ask questions that lead in a positive direction. Did it make sense to you? What did you like best about what you just saw? Pretty exciting, isn't it? Can you see how this could be an opportunity for you? Of these examples, the one I used most is, what did you like best? The answer to that question is almost always positive, and it gives you clues as to the area in which they're most interested. Then I like to say, let me ask you a question on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 meaning you have 0 interest and 10 being you're ready to get started right now. Where are you? They'll give you a number. And it's usually obvious from their number that they either need more information before they'll make a decision or they're leaning towards getting started now. If you feel they need more information, just guide them to the next exposure that will help them the most. But if you feel they're ready to get started, then ask a series of 4 questions. This 4-question close has produced strong and consistent results over the course of my career. If you learn it and use it, you'll be amazed at how many people you can help. Question number 1. Based upon what you've just seen, if you were to get started with this company on a part-time basis, approximately how much would you need to earn per month in order to make this worth your time? Instead of asking this question, most distributors say things like, how'd you like to make $10,000 a month? Don't do that. Instead of prescribing what you think they want, just ask them what it would take to make it worth their time and wait for their answer. Question number 2, approximately how many hours could you commit each week to develop that kind of income? Now they have to go inside their head and check their mental calendar to see how much time they would invest to get that kind of money. Question number 3, how many months would you work those kind of hours in order to develop that kind of income? This question makes them think about their level of commitment if they want the income from question number 1. Question number 4, if I could show you how to develop an income of, their answer to question number 1, per month, working, their answer to question number 2, hours a week over the course of, their answer to question number 3, months, would you be ready to get started? Most of the time, you'll get a positive answer to this question. And when people say, sure, show me how, you can pull out your compensation plan and sketch out a reasonable game plan to achieve their goals. There are rare occasions when people will give you unrealistic numbers. They might say they want $10,000 a month working 2 hours a week for 1 month. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen. If you face that situation, you act as a consultant and say, I'm sorry, but your expectations are way too high. You can get to $10,000 a month, but it'll take more hours and more months than you're willing to commit. If you're willing to change those expectations, we can talk. If you don't get a positive answer to the 4 questions, that's okay. That means the prospect will need to have more exposures before they're ready. Schedule the next one and repeat this process when you're done. This skill will take practice, but it's a skill that will serve you for the rest of your career. If you're tired of having too many people thinking about it and not enough taking action, this will help.
Okay, it was actually about closing when you've been sharing a lot of information or an opportunity with somebody as opposed to getting started with a new member. So yeah, anything that you took out of that, Adam, that really sort of something to you?
Yes, he often asks questions instead of prescribing to people what he thinks they might want and trying to dictate to them, kind of what they should get or shouldn't get.
Sure.
So, yeah, so
How do you think people feel if
more
you ask them questions?
well, it's more engaging in where the person is at than trying to push something on them that you think they need. So I think I get that. Yeah, I get that point of and not having the expectation and the pressure you were saying of expecting them to join and being emotionally tied up to them joining.
Okay.
I think that was the point he first made.
Yeah.
That made a lot of sense. Yeah.
What would you say were the reasons people are emotionally attached to people, to their friends saying yes or to saying yes?
Yeah, because they feel let down when they don't say yes. They feel it's like they're trying to conquer the person. Instead of,
They feel like they failed.
yeah, they failed to conquer them, you see. Which is the wrong approach. That makes them run away.
Okay. I think sometimes some people also feel like they are a failure, like they haven't been able to show the value of what they're having to offer so that the person will say yes. So they feel like they're not very good, very good at what they're trying to offer.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he explained it quite well with the type of questions he asks them. And
yeah, and I thought so as well. I quite liked, he said his focus was saying, don't focus on being interesting, which is all about us. Like we're trying to say, hey, we're a big deal, we know all of this, but focus more on being interested. So that changes the focus. Now the focus is on the other person and trying to find out what it is that is important to them. And I like that he says you have to ask lots of questions, because if you don't ask lots of questions, you'll never know if it's a good fit. Because
yes, and it's finding out what that person is looking for.
Exactly.
Because each person's looking for something a bit different.
Sure.
There's not one fit. So
sure.
What they're intending helps to then introduce this to them as to what they're expecting as well, and where the expectations don't meet reality, also being honest with them.
Sure. Because really yeah, I like that too. Like it's no use spinning somebody a yarn that they're going to make thousands overnight, and that doesn't happen, because all you end up is the person feels betrayed, they feel let down, they blame you that what you said hasn't happened. So yeah, no, that doesn't work so well. Why do you think you said we need to promote ourselves as well as our product?
Because we're an example to them. I think that we're quite a big example to them. They want to see that it's working for us first before they join. And with another thing that I asked my cousin to join, it kind of eventually went wrong. It went down. So I sort of lost my credibility there. But fortunately, when he joined this thing, he had the wrong password, so he never joined.
Oh, no.
So luckily, I was off the hook. So that was a good thing, because I went in a small way, another investment, and then it crashed. But I went in small to see if it would work.
Sure.
So I was
you're talking about, so it is a bit challenging when you are sharing with somebody how well your investment is done in the cryptocurrency world, and then suddenly the value of the Bitcoin goes down. But I think
Yes.
quite a valuable thing to share with people then is that the nice thing about mining as opposed to trading is that when the value goes down, your mining equipment still carries on producing Bitcoin. So that when it goes back up again, you've still got Bitcoin there that will also go up in value as the value goes up. But for somebody who's trading, if they've got to sell their Bitcoin to release funds, if the value of the Bitcoin's gone down, they're not going to get many funds from selling it. But if you bought mining equipment, even if the value goes down, the great thing about it is your mining equipment keeps generating more and more Bitcoin.
Yes, yes, yes. The guy explained it in one of the talks. I think who's the main guy who's explained it once? He said that when it dropped down quite a large drop, we were still making 8 to 10%.
Exactly. I mean, if you invest in a normal way, you hardly ever get 3% per year. So to be making sort of at least above 5% per month, not per year, per month, when the value is dropping, that's amazing.
Yeah, he said about 8 to 10, he said, even when it dropped.
Yeah.
On the last example that he gave.
Yeah.
He
No, Andrew Eaton, I think.
Andrew, yeah.
No.
So that was quite amazing to watch his talk.
Yes, it was very inspiring, very reassuring, actually.
Yeah, I'd love to get that link. I forget which talk it was to share with people.
Sure.
If you can find.
No, I do have it. I'll send it to you. I think I also sent it to someone recently. I think I sent it to Riaz recently. I'll send it to you.
And who's that guy? Andrew Eaton? Is he
Andrew
founder?
Eaton is the co-founder, together with David Martin and a couple of other people, of Lifestyle Galaxy, of our company.
Even before Bitcoin was part of it?
No, after Bitcoin. After Bitcoin, well, Bitcoin kind of started in 2009. I think our company only started about 2 or 3 years ago. I could stand to be corrected. What are we in? 2018. Yeah, I think we only started in 2015, our company.
But they started without Bitcoin, as I understand, first with gaming and other things, right?
Yeah, they started another company that wasn't as valuable as this one. And I think they learned a lot of mistakes from that company, which then helped them start one that's doing really, really well.
Okay.
But, this particular video is going to go to everybody, so I'm going to keep on track, and then we can talk a bit afterwards, Adam. I just want to close off with the way I liked the way he ended. After asking lots of questions and then saying, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, from interested to getting started, where are you? Which is also a really great indicator of whether people are really keen to get started, whether they need a whole lot more information. So that was a good question to ask. And then I also like the way he brought it home and made it real for somebody. So he said, question 1, based on what you've just seen, how much per month would it be worth it for you if this worked out? And then they'll say a certain amount, and then he kind of gets them to think a little bit more, almost starting to strategize even before they join. So he asks the second question, approximately how many hours would you commit to getting that kind of income? So again, the person's thinking, okay, this is the income I want. I have a vehicle to be able to do it. How many hours do I need to commit to this? And then he asks, okay, so if you were going to commit, say, 2 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours a week to this, depending on the person, how many months would that take for you to get the kind of income you were after? Again, for people to begin to see, this is not a quick fix. This is, you do need to put in a little bit of time and energy. And then the fourth one, which I think comes back to that previous question I asked you when I said, why do you promote yourself as well as your product? The fourth question is, if I could show you how to get this amount of money working these amount of hours for these many months, would you be ready to get started? And I think what's important for people is they need to see that it actually could really work. And then I think why we need to promote ourselves as well as our product is that people need to know that you're going to link arm to arm with them, and that you're going to help them realize what are their dreams. Because if somebody's launched into a new project on their own, you know, then they probably wouldn't go for it at all because they weren't sure whether they could do it. They weren't sure if they're going to achieve anything. But if they know somebody else who has been in the trenches or has been achieving quite a lot, is going to stand with them and walk them through it step by step, well, then that's a huge asset to them as well as the business. So that's why it's also important to promote yourself as well as your product. Okay, I am going to end off for this evening. This was a great message about closing with our prospects, and yeah, Adam and I have had a good discussion about it, but really look forward to some of the comments from some of you if you'd like to give us feedback. Okay, bye for now.
Bye-bye.